Have you ever wondered why you get stuck in reactivity? Why we keep repeating the same old patterns, and we kind of feel like at times that, the world is turning to shit and we are the victim of it, and there's nothing in our power to change that. But there is something in our power. And that something is a return of the feminine, a return of rites of passage, and the ability to actually move out of wounded maiden and into the mother archetype, or as I like to call, the priestess. Hello, sisters, and welcome to the Awakened Divine Feminine podcast. This is a place that is fully transforming at the moment, a place that is stepping back from a lot of the societal expectations of what it means to be woman. And not that that is a change for this business in general. This podcast is about helping women to reclaim their power, to step out of the wounded feminine, and to provide a space for us to truly step into the ability to mother ourselves, to priestess our lives, to come into a place where we are so empowered that life no longer happens to us, it happens through us. We are the ultimate creator of everything within our life. We are the author, but yet have we been given the tools to be able to step out of child and into maiden? And then have we been given the tools and the knowledge needed to reclaim our power or to connect to our power when we move from maiden to mother? God forbid we start opening the conversation of menopause, which is mother to marga, that rite of passage, that essential, eternal, beautiful turning point in life that today's society doesn't want to talk about. It wants to suppress. And what are we also doing at that time where child turns into maiden? We are often giving our young girls the pill or suppressive hormone replacement therapy to, give her the belief from a really young age that this is something that needs to be avoided. It's something, this bleeding is something that you just have to put up with every month and get on with life, take a painkiller and, have a tampon and, just keep doing what you're doing. If you've listened to any of my earlier podcasts, these podcasts are all about reconnecting to cyclical wisdom and to really understand and to start to educate around the fact that women have a second biological clock. And that second biological clock is the manifestation cycle. It is that one cycle that repeats itself throughout life, but yet has different timing. But our second biological clock, our infradian rhythm, is the timing of that 27 to 29 day monthly cycle. And that's the cycle of our hormonal system. It's also the cycle of the moon, which is why you will also know, if you've been following me for a while, that I am a moon goddess and I love everything to do with the moon. And that is because the moon is the closest astrological body to the earth. The moon is all about our bodies. It's about the feminine. It's about emotions. And it's not about being cut off from the head up or the neck and forgetting about the body and what's happening within and just being stuck in our head and our ego. It's about connecting to the soul. And this was what we were taught in ancient rites of passage, in ancient women's circles, in ancient red tent monthly gatherings with women, because when women hang out together, they actually start to cycle together. So back in the day, women in a tribe and in a community would actually all cycle at the same time. And most of the time, when we were in sync with the seasons outside, that time would be the time of the new moon. And so when the new moon and your cycle line up, what we have is this deep, inward, beautiful space within that creates the dreaming. It creates this physiological, so your actual body's physiology or its makeup, the left brain and the right brain, the hemispheres of the brain are actually functioning in equal right. And it's the only time during a month when a woman bleeds that this happens. So you have equal rationality and equal emotional capacity. So it's like being able to truly look at the last season, the last cycle, what's been good for me, what's been showing up, what has the universe been providing me with as I have been doing my inspired action to work with my cycle. What seed did I plant at this new moon? What was my intention for this month, this infradian rhythm, this lunation cycle, this menstrual cycle, this 27 to 29 day phase? And this 27 to 29 day cycle, not phase, has 4 to 8 phases. And that 4 to 8 phases, the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle, we have our menstrual cycle, then we come into the follicular phase where the follicles are building, then we come around to ovulation, which is our full moon. Then we start the descent and into the luteal phase. And then at the luteal phase, we've kind of got that 3/4 moon, and then it comes back down to your premenstrual phase, that time of month where, you want to stab someone in the eye with a fork if they, turn around and go, "Oh, are you getting your rag soon?" And it's like, yeah, I might be, but have some compassion to the fact that today's society doesn't allow me to function in 4 different ways according to where I'm at in my cycle. So I'm trained and conditioned to act like a man and think that I can get up every single day and do the same thing. I put myself down when I don't have the energy to actually go out and do that presentation at work, but I push through and I do it anyway, to my own physical, emotional, and soul detriment. And then I wonder why at the end of my cycle, the end of the infradian rhythm, in that premenstrual phase or the balsamic phase for the moon cycle, why I am feeling irritated, why I am feeling agitated, why I'm feeling that my life is not aligned with my highest good. My life doesn't feel like it is truly coming or allowing me to live the way that my body and my soul are destined to live. So until we start to reclaim our rites of passage, until we start to reclaim women's circles, till we start to reclaim community and we start to sit with our young children, we start to sit with our maidens, we start to sit with our mothers, we start to sit with our margas, and we start to sit with our crones, so that we can share our stories, so that we understand as we traverse this beautiful journey called life, what actually happens in those different phases. And when a young boy went from boy to young man around puberty, he would start going out with the uncles and the fathers into nature to learn about Mother Earth. And as he learnt about Mother Earth, he would learn that the seasons that the seasons that Mother Earth depict, that she represents throughout the 4 seasons of her life, are actually the 4 seasons that the woman goes through every month. So not only is he learning to tend to the mother, his own mother, Mother Earth, but also to the mother in his, future wife or future partner. Because all of us need, boys, girls, males, females, cats, dogs, whatever. Every single being on this earth needs to come back into understanding that women are designed and created differently. And no matter how you identify, this is a physiological fact that when we have the female hormones running through our systems, we need to start aligning to the 4 phases of our menstrual cycle. And if you're no longer bleeding, then you align with the 4 phases or the 8 phases of the moon. And when we bring that into our life and we have the opportunity to sit with elders, to sit with our mothers, to sit with our crones and go through rites of passage that allow us to understand how the community that we live in respect and honour the next phases of our journey. So what that means is when you go through the rite of passage of menarche, which is the first time you bleed, this is the rite of passage from childhood into maiden. And this is the time where you're actually shown in community how that community respects the menopausal woman. Because it skips one rite of passage and shows you how that community honours and reveres women in the next rite of passage that you go through after. So there's 2 rites of passages that you go through. So birth shows you what the rite of passage into motherhood will teach you. Your first menarche, your first bleed will teach you what it's like to go through that rite of passage into Marga or through menopause. And really, if we associate that, what do we do at menarche for our young girls? Often nothing. Often it's simply, as I said before, here's some painkillers, here's a pad, something you're just going to have to put up with every month. Just get on with it. You know, if you've got something on, just use a tampon, get on with it, you'll be right. Or take this pill if everything's just not actually aligning. But if we come back into alignment and teach our young girls to then understand what it's like to move with the moon, to be in their different phases throughout their month, we can get rid of things like PMS. We can get rid of things like painful periods. Young girls will have irregular periods for the first, it's natural to have it for the first 5 or 6 years because our body's coming into a new cycle. And ultimately, at 12 to 14, which is the average age, well, 12 is actually the current average age of a young girl getting her cycle. It used to be 14, but over the last 100 years, it has slowly decreased in age. And there's a lot of research and things to explain that, but I'm not going to go off on a tangent there. I could feel my brain, wanting to go there, but I'm bringing it back. So when she gets through that rite of passage, it's not about moving then from maiden to I'm fertile, I'm this. That passage into maiden is then, it's a moving from the collective family of I belong to this tribe to the who am I as an individual and how do I exist in this world? So the maiden's energy is all about adventure, spontaneity. Life happens to you. You figure out that you run out, you burn your bridges, you race fast cars, that's an analogy. If we had rites of passage, we wouldn't have as much of that kind of, real racing cars and trying to prove ourselves. But as the maiden and even the young man, we have to find ways of figuring out what the world is all about. And we truly, it's an adventure. It's a place where, we feel like there's endless time and we waste our time. It's a time where we truly, we grab life by the balls is what's coming in my head. I'm sorry. We grab life and we use it for the taking. We often are debaucherous with our bodies. We can actually, do a lot more with our bodies and we're more active and more fit and we can possibly take, mind-altering drugs and things like that and not have as much of an effect as later in life. However, I'm not advocating going out and taking mind-altering drugs. What I'm saying is this call to adventure is the maiden's energy. But because we're then missing the rite of passage from maiden into mother, today's society seems to kind of place the marital ceremony as that rite of passage. But where's the conversations? Where's the preparations? Where's all of the elders sitting together with that maiden saying, okay, well, once you move through this rite of passage, this is now what's expected of you. And it is a rite of passage into that, it's coming more to the mother, the priestess energy. I am in charge of my life. I have enough instead of feeling like I don't have enough and I have to go out and get more. It's very consumeristic and materialistic, this maiden. But when we move into mother, truly move into mother, not giving birth and not getting married, but if we went through a rite of passage from maiden to mother, what we would be armed and supplied and provided with by our community of elder women would be, over a very long period of time, we would be taught how to invoke the mother or the priestess within ourselves. We would be taught how to mother ourselves, how to connect so deeply with the great mother, with Mother Earth, so that we know in every single moment that even when our inner maiden, because our archetypes of maiden, mother, Marga, and crone are always within us, as is the inner child. But when we're in that phase of life, when we, and only if we've been initiated and we move into that next phase of life, that's the part of us that's playing out. But the problem with today's society is that women, this also is very much about our young men. Young men need this initiation too. But right now I'm speaking about the women's rite of passage from maiden to mother. Back in the pagan days, this would have been where we stood in the big stone circle at Avebury, and we would be surrounded not only by our mothers and elders and crones and margas, we would be surrounded by Mother Earth and her mothering energy. We would be crowned, we would mourn that maiden within and consciously let go of being reactive, of being, all for ourselves and, running the adventure and burning bridges along the way. We would take our time to truly mourn that part of ourselves and say, okay, I am ready. And this rite of passage would usually take place around the age of 26 for a woman. And when she then moved into mother, she was taught the tools, the rituals, the ceremonies, the innate life processes that were needed to be able to invoke her inner priestess, her mother archetype, regardless of whether she had children or not. The mother archetypes birth everything into being. It is businesses, craft, songs, children, life. We are the creatrix. We are the ability to allow and to know that life happens through us. And it is that knowledge that life happens through us that we are able to change those reactive thought processes and habits from the wounded maiden and actually allow that wounded maiden to feel, I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted to be seen. I just wanted to be heard. I wanted to be held. I wanted to be cherished for my light and my dark, for my shadow self, instead of being conditioned into this good girl that is polite, proper, and, the princess. So if we want to move from the princess archetype to the priestess, from the wounded maiden to the mother, if you are over the age of 26, this doesn't mean that you are in or embodying the mother energy. I know myself, I'm 45 years old, and how would I explain this? I take myself through many rites of passage on a regular basis. I have held rite of passage ceremony for myself, and I hold this for my community in both retreat styles. So if you are in Australia and you are interested in sitting in retreat with me at either the winter solstice or Imbolc this year, then keep an eye out on my social media, keep an eye out. Jump on my mailing list, because that's probably the best place to jump on board and to hear about the retreats that are coming up. But I will be running a medicine woman retreat coming up in either the winter solstice or Imbolc, and that will be this rite of passage from the princess to the priestess. And we will be really honing in on our medicine woman, who is this woman within me that I am destined to be. And we'll be really honing in on those wounded maiden aspects of, jealousy, reactivity. It's all those kind of it is, the only way I can explain it is life happens to me and I'm sick of life happening to me and I'm, over this. And, even depression and anxiety can be us stuck in that wounded pattern. Yes, there is clinical depression. Yes, there's clinical anxiety. I'm not devaluing any of that. But if we had rites of passage in this world, in our society, if we had more rites of passage, if we actually sat back in sacred circle and we honoured the stages of our life, the stages of our menstrual cycle, if we reclaimed our cyclical wisdom and reconnected to our innate power as women, anxiety and depression would not be as rife as it is today. And I'm saying that through my own experience and through the experience of working with thousands of women going through this process who were debilitated and medicated for their anxiety and depression, but they found that they were living in a world that just didn't fit. They felt like the black sheep. They couldn't keep up. That life had so many expectations. It was like they were drowning and only just keeping their head above water. So until we learn the value of creating our own pattern, our own rhythm, our own destiny through aligning with our sacred women's business, through our sacred rites of passage, through our cyclical wisdom, this is when health and wholeness can be birthed into being. This mother energy births herself and has that ability to hold herself through all that life gives her and all that life puts her way. Because she's a mother, she's cherishing, she's priestess, she has the rituals, she has the knowledge, and she's the one that will help the young children to be a child, to be in that space, to share the fairy tales. Not the ones of Snow White and even Ariel, who, if I'm quiet and soft, the prince will choose me over the wicked witch or the wicked sea serpent or whatever that was, Ursula. And Snow White lying in her crystal coffin waiting for the prince's kiss. The wounded maiden continuously looks outside of herself for someone or something to rescue her. She wants to be fixed. The mother knows that she is in control of her life and that she holds the power to priestess herself through every single thing that comes her way. And that, my sisters, that is what this work of awakening the divine feminine for me is all about. For my community, it's all about. And I cannot wait to share this in retreat with you later in the year. I cannot wait. There is a new program I'm currently running, Rise, at the moment, and it is blowing my mind, the transformations that are happening. But there is big shifts within the way in which you can start working with us. So the website of Awaken Divine Feminine is currently under review and being rebuilt so that it's more simple. It's got heaps of free resources still, which will finally work, which I realized recently that haven't actually been working when you sign up for things. So that is currently in process. And what I am envisaging is you will have the ability to go through a self-paced, at-home, beautiful rite of passage, which is actually the bridge, the rainbow bridge, that allows you to go through the 7 chakras at your own pace, in your own space, and to truly deepen your intimacy and your knowledge of yourself. Like I speak about all the time, this is the space where you grow the roots. You root down into the earth. You hold yourself through each of your chakras so you know when and if you are in balance or out of balance, if you're under or overactive in any space. And that is kind of the foundational teachings for the maiden to mother journeys, from the princess to the priestess journeys that we will be holding both both live online once or twice a year, and we will be holding in a retreat style over 3 to 4 days. And this live online and this retreat style will be allowing you to rise rooted as priestess as the medicine woman, this woman who knows that life is so beautiful and she can create her own processes and her own patterns and her own ways of being, instead of sitting in the wounded feminine waiting for her prince to rescue her. I wanted to share with you a poem that I wrote. It's not really a poem, but it's just some words that I wrote the other day when I was going through one of my daily, if not, weekly, if not daily, rites of passage, rituals. Journaling is one of my most beautiful, favourite things to do. And this is what came out. In the belly of the mother I grow, unheeded by external chaos, not succumbing to the undertow. In the belly of the earth I rest, deeply held, surrendering, letting go. This isn't a test, it is a grand reset. In the belly of the earth I rise into my fullness, my greatness, ready for the prize of being whole, the prize of being me, the prize of initiation into all I can be. You see, my wounded maiden has played out so deeply within me. It's not that I wasn't mothered, but we all come in with sacred wounds. I'll do a podcast episode in the next couple of weeks around our Chiron wound. And that Chiron wound is something that we come into this life to learn. And the best way I've ever found to kind of explain this is that sometimes this maiden to mother or the maiden to mother work can trigger a lot of our childhood wounds. Some of us, not all of us, but most of us weren't mothered in a way that truly helped us to align with our deepest truth, because our mothers, ourselves, our grandmothers, their mothers were raised in this patriarchy. They were raised in the suppression of the feminine. They also didn't have their mother to support them and hold them and teach them about their, innate power. They didn't have the community and the women around to teach and to support and to share stories. So it's not that our mothers were doing a bad job or something wrong. It's that society has been denying and suppressing the goddess, priestess, feminine awakening for so long, because they used the, age-old war tactic of divide and conquer. So women were legally not allowed to gather. Women who practiced their craft of midwifery or herb law or even divination and, intuition were burnt at the stake as witches. So these wounds hold deep within our bodies. We were, in our grandmother's belly as she was pregnant with our mother from 20 weeks old. We hold the DNA that ripples through from grandmother to grandmother to grandmother to grandmother. About 7 generations back, we can physically, in our bodies, hold those stories of what happened to those women. And what happened to those women was atrocious. Those women were suppressed. They were ignored. They were not allowed to vote. They had no voice. And this is still something that ripples through our communities today. And the goddess is rising. I believe, as I think it's Jane Meredith in her book, The Journey of the Dark Goddess, she says, what if the goddess was actually going into her dark moon phase? She's been in this rest. She's been in her bleed. She's been in her red tent for the last few thousand years. But she's rising. The new moon has shone its light. From the darkness, light is born. And this is where I believe we are feeling, not only all of this astrological craziness that's happening at the moment with Pluto moving into Aquarius, and then Saturn moved into Pisces, and we had the Aries new moon a couple of days ago, and we had the equinox, the equal day and equal night the autumn equinox here in the southern hemisphere and the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. We've got all of this crazy astrological collective energy propelling the goddess forward, propelling us in different ways to see our lives, to live and to be honored, to be held. And we honestly cannot mother anyone else until we are able to mother ourselves. And until we are able to do that, we are not able to fully sit in the space of priestessing, of mothering. We are not able to be in that grandeur of, I am me, I am woman, hear me roar. My wounded maiden felt so unseen. I have like a Scorpio moon. I have Uranus conjunct Scorpio, and it's all in the 8th house. I am a deep, crazy emotional woman. And I lost my dad when I was 7. But I felt I wasn't able to talk about that. And this was my belief, not probably what my family imposed upon me, but what I came in with this wound with Chiron in the 2nd house at 1 degree. I am here about my own worth, my own, values in life, my own belonging. And this all plays out for me, or has for a very long time played out for me in the wounded mother. The wounded maiden. And even when I had my baby girl, it was like the wounded maiden came out even more with this rebellion, because I mourned a life that I didn't have anymore. I mourned this life that I would never get back. And yet at the same time, I was completely and utterly saturated with love and gratitude for this beautiful baby girl that chose me as her mother. And so for the last 9 years of her life, I have been trying and working endlessly on initiating myself into mother. And it depends on the day, whether I'm exhausted, whether I'm tired, as to how much the wounded maiden still plays out. Because that is what's culturally ingrained within my body, even though I have done the work. You see, we have to come into understanding what our core wounds are. That Chiron story, that soul wound that we came in with. What is it? Is it something about abandonment, scarcity? Are we feeling rejected, shamed, or neglected? Are we feeling unseen, unheard? What is it that you came into this life to learn that then becomes what you teach? Chiron was a centaur, and I won't get into that right now. I will actually create a podcast around the Chiron wound in the next couple of weeks for you to dive into. But what I want to leave you with is some journaling prompts around what you can ask your inner maiden. And those journaling prompts can be beautifully, jump into the Awaken Divine Feminine app available on any app store. You'll see me drumming as me with my sacred medicine drum on the front cover. And you will be able to get a meditation there, which are all divided into timing, because I know we're busy women. And sometimes those apps that I have to scroll through to figure out what I want to do and how much time I've got usually takes the time that I have to drop into that meditative space. But grab a meditation, sit and drop into your body. Grab pen and paper, because your heart in a meridian line is connected to your hand. Your pen is connected to your hand is connected to your heart, and your heart is connected to your soul. Drop out of the mind and into the body and ask yourself, how are you, little maiden? How are you? And if she replies, I'm feeling sad, simply use your reflective skills of mothering and say, why are you sad? Your maiden does not need to be fixed or rescued. She needs to be held and mothered. How do you feel, little maiden? How are you? Then reflectively respond to her questions. And then ask her, what can I do right now for you to help you feel seen, heard, held, and loved? And imagine, see, sense, or feel the eternal mother, cherishing love of the mother wrap you, envelop you, and be with you in the space of this beautiful maiden mother energy. I believe the Holy Trinity is the maiden mother and the crone. And there's been so many meditations in my space, in my own inner workings that have come up with that beautiful feeling of being held by those generations, by those parts of me. And when I am held by the mother, when I am embodying the mother, I truly feel that I am in a space of empowerment, that I am in a space of authenticity, and I'm in a space of honoring my body and knowing that I celebrate myself with compassion. I am rooted and I rise from everything life throws my way. And yet I hear sometimes that wounded mother in me being the victim, because she plays the victim, waiting for someone or seeking sympathy or wanting to be rescued. And then whoever and whatever does rescue her, she mistakes that as love. And so we're eternally seeking this love of the mother, this place that we were in the womb, a place where we were held and surrounded eternally by this beautiful, watery, first-class womb. So hold yourself, dear sister. Be in this space and know that if you do hold a mother wound with your own mother, this work of connecting to the great mother, lie your naked belly to the earth and know that if you transfer that name mother as priestess or goddess, be held by the goddess, be held by Mother Earth, and know that no matter what, no matter how good, bad, or ugly your childhood was, that you are loved, you are cherished, you, the whole of you, is accepted and celebrated when you are loved by the goddess, when you are held by Mother Earth. Just take a moment to feel that love enveloping you. I just got the feeling of these wings wrapping around my body, my spirit, my soul, dropping me deeper into my roots. A place where I feel eternally present and aligned. And I want that for you too. So stay in this place and listen to this podcast over and over if that's what you need to help you drop in. But take up your pen and start to have a conversation with your inner maiden. What does she need? How does she feel? What can you do for her in this moment? Maybe she wants to play. Maybe she wants to be held. Maybe she wants to be seen and celebrated and validated for the amazing, beautiful maiden that she is. I love you, sisters, and I will see you when I see you, where I see you. Bye for now.